going to be having our one of our first ever community live streams, and today we're going to be having a look at the Phantom beneath the streets of Paris. As I said, we're going to be having a look at the Phantom beneath the streets of Paris, and today's music is brought to you by Bradley. Today's music is brought to you. Today we are listening to the Soul Deep, Better Kind of Bitter, Peachy Pavement. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about on this live stream is this beautiful, beautiful cover that has been done by Nicole Scott. Nicole Scott, she's usually working on DC covers. Like one of the main, she's like one of the big people of in Australia. She's one of the big people in Australia that does actual DC stuff and does it very, very well. And she's one of the big people that she does for DC's Wonder Woman. So yeah, she's amazing. I met her, I think, at Supernova last year, and yeah, she's just pretty cool, and she's a great person to talk to. And I got two things signed by her, and yeah, she's just a good person. Like she's just a good person to talk to. And now we're going to be having a look at this beautiful, beautiful comic. Now, our first story is brought to you by Peter Anderson and Percy Okahoa. The story is called the story is called The Phantom Beneath the Streets of Paris, and this is the fourth installment of the Bella Apogee series that has been running over in few publications, books for the last what? It's been running nearly all year, and it's just a great it to start off with this series. I wasn't too thrilled with it. I didn't really think the artwork was up to standard, and I didn't think that I thought the artwork looked a bit rushed. But that was just my opinion on that on the artwork, and it was my opinion to do with the artist, which is Percy Alcohola. And but in this book, the first page is amazing. It's 9 panels separated, and it just feels like you're watching and you're reading and you're going through panel after panel after panel, and it just feels like you're watching a 1940s or 1930s or 20s silent. You're either watching a silent era movie from the 1920s, a movie dedicated to jazz or dedicated to what France is about and French culture in the 1930s. Or, yeah, it's just amazing. And who better to tell it than Peter Anderson? So, what is Jane Carey doing? The main character is Jane Carey in these first 9 panels. And what is she eating? She's eating, let me say this right. She's eating and finally finding out that she's eating escargots al, which in plain English translated to snails. Yeah, she's not too thrilled about eating snails, I can tell you that right now. And I would be. It's a great thing that French culture is developed in these stories, and it has been for since early this year. And we saw a lot of moments in the stories that I've been showing you on this channel. I haven't really showed many of these stories. I've only probably showed um, that Hell story and I think this one, or there was two of them they showed, and it's been a while since we've had a look at one. Anyway, we see Jane Carey and her husband, the Phantom, traveling down a street in Paris. And now, to recap most of the stuff that's been happening in the last two stories, we had an assassination attempt that obviously got foiled. And then we had, and then we um, had the assassination attempt, and then there was the other story. I'll be back. The other story was called. The other story was called "The Roofs of, on the Rooftops of Paris." Now that happened to be that there was a burglar, and he was stealing priceless jewelry from people that were staying in motels. And the back end of that story, it's just funny, it's amazing, and it's just very well crafted, written storylines. Amazing story by Peter Anderson, that was. And now we're going to be getting back to this comic, which is going to be good. Now, in this comic, we have as many stories have been noted by Lee Falk. Many stories noted in I think the early 30s, or no, late 30s when Lee Falk was just starting doing his run on the Phantom to I think all the way through, most of the way through until the late 90s. And what is that thing got to do with the Phantom? It's got to do with supernatural themes. It's got to do with the mystery of the character, and when you combine those two with the Phantom, it's very normally the stories are very good, but after a while of them using the same story elements and putting them both together as good old team, good old Team T, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style, and you have a story that many fans may already be predicting or may already know half the story before it actually begins. So yeah, that happened to me. I There was things that were introduced early on in the story, and I practically knew what was going to happen 15 pages after I started reading it. And not to say that it's not a good story, it is a good story, but I feel like the storytelling of how you introduce supernatural themes and the mystery to the character of the Phantom sometimes can be overused a fair bit. And when it does do that, when people do overuse it a fair bit, it just gets it gets competitive, and it's just like repetitive, and it's been used time and time again because they are good story methods. They are good story elements to add to the Phantom. And so Jane Carey, she's had enough at this dinner that the Phantom and Jane Carey are at, and then she sees a kidnapping of an innocent woman. And where's that woman been taken? Yes, she's been taken to the secret catacombs under Paris, under the streets of Paris. Jane Carey goes missing in the next couple of pages, and the Phantom finds out that Jane Carey is missing. He then finds the entrance to the catacombs, the Phantom is captured and is nearly going to be it's nearly going to be basically beheaded. And we saw this heaps of times. Like, if you have a look at, say, history from the 1920s. Now, I'm just saying this. If you have a look at the history in the 1920s, 1910s, and 1930s, there's a particular era in those decades that we saw like cults being made, and people wearing marks over their head, and like this, animals being animal heads being put on people. And for some reason, people back in those days believed, oh, we're going to be doing a ritual now, and we have to go either burn something on a stake, or we have to go do something with people. I know that it was of those times, and people believed in that stuff. They make good stories, but if you have a look at the history of some of the stuff that's been put into Phantom stories from the 30s through the 40s and into the 90s, it's been repetitive. It's been used a lot, and you can guess it basically. What does the Phantom do? Well, Jane Carey, yes, Jane Carey is basically the hero in this story. She saves the Phantom and Jane Carey wrap it all up, and this story at the end takes a dramatic turn with the leader being uncovered as the guy that was saying, oh, look out, monsters are coming to vanquish Paris in all its demands. You must believe it right now. But what is he does? He gets punched in the face. Good old Phantom work. Good job, Phantom. Good job, Kit Walker. But will we see that same guy, will we see him in the next issue? Will we see him in the next Bella Apog series episode? We'll just have to wait and see. So we have the issue with Heloise, part 1 or part 3. And if you haven't noticed, this is one of the best stories that I have read. Now, I'm going to say this. This story, this 3-part series by Matt Kime and Shane Foley, this has been the best story that I've read for this year. I reckon this is the best story, nearly topping the Death in the East End. That was a good story. Like, I hadn't read that before, but it was so good. But this story nearly goes tails to tails with it. So, what can I say? Heloise and Kit Walker Jr. are having the good old brother and sister rivalries. But yeah, Heloise is not taking any of his crap nowadays. And yeah, and where are they going? Heloise and her father are going to go see Rex. And if you don't know who Rex is the king of Baron Khan. He is one of the best things that has happened. I reckon one of the sort of best things that has happened in the modern day Phantom from the 80s, 90s, and beyond. Like that story that had him in it by Duncan Munro and Jeff Weigel was some of the best stuff that I'd been reading over the last 6 years I've been collecting the Phantom. Some of the best stuff. It's so good. And where's Kit going? Oh yeah, he's just going to New York with his mother, which is cool. And what will be happening? Unfortunately, these two young individuals are planning an assassination attack of Rex. Assassination attacks go so well with the Phantom because the Phantom, he knocks them over one by one, still saves the day, still survives until the next adventure. Unless it's to do with the dailies right now. That we can talk about that another day. So the two young individuals are heading themselves away from Shambad and into Baron Khan. They don't get checked as many people do in the city. And then the Phantom and Heloise are welcomed as royalty. And what is going to happen? Well, I'll be reading you this. Jean, the things these people are saying are crazy. They've gone mad at the sight of this man. At the sight of this man, should we return home and forget the mission? Jane says, no, the plan remains the same. Whoever this Phantom is, he won't stop us killing Prince Rex. Well. This will be continued. Will Rex, the king of Baron Khan, be subjected to assassination upon, or will it be foiled like many others? Now we have the ads for this week. The Phantom Generations trading card set is now available. It is from the American Phantom artist Jeff Weigel. Comes in a complete deluxe set of trading cards showing the Phantom in his costumes of that time. It is a full set collected in 9-pocket clear Ultra Pro sleeves, and you can order that from www.phantomcomic.com.au. And our last ad for this week is the Phantom, the Ghost and the Monster is now available at www.phantomcomic.com.au, and you can get that now for $34.95 plus postage. It is the second graphic novel few publications have announced, and that came out last year. So if you would like to find out how Frankenstein matches up with a Phantom, what happens in that story, you can purchase it at phantomcomic.com.au. Amazing cover. Amazing. How's it going? I hope you enjoyed our community live stream this week. I know last night it didn't really go to plan. There was a lot of technical difficulties and we had to cut it short. But I hope you enjoyed that issue. I hope you enjoyed when you get to see this replay of the live stream. And as I always like to say, keep Phantom Caving, and episode 4 of The Enthusiast will be coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. And as always, keep Phantom Caving, and I will see you next time, as Soul Deep is still on the player. So see you next time, and goodbye for now.